All right, let's get started. We are 5 minutes behind schedule, so we will try to keep close to the planned time. All right, let me welcome Carsten Creed here from Ergo Mobility Solutions. The first session, I think we have the pleasure of having Carsten presenting to us Ergo Mobility Solutions, how they have orchestrated insurance for the mobility ecosystem. Carsten, the stage is yours.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good morning. Good to be back in Amsterdam, particularly a few days after the Rolling Stones have been here. My favorite band, greatest band in the world. 60 years yesterday was their real birthday. 60 years. So everything what we do is somehow unimportant against that. Yeah, let me introduce myself. I'm responsible for the entire mobility business of Ergo and Munich Re Group, primary insurance reinsurer. I'm a classical hybrid between the insurance industry and the automotive mobility industry. In my former career, I was working 7 years as a board member of Volkswagen Financial Services and also 7 years in the board of Allianz, also responsible for the automotive business. That was the first generation. Today, I would like to give you an overview of what we understand when we speak about the second generation of our business model, our collaborations with the automotive industry and also with the mobility industry, which is slightly different, but you will see why it is also important. Yeah, the title of my presentation, I think I need to do that probably. No. Maybe. Ah, yeah.
The participants, I think there is a Q&A feature in the app, so please use that to raise questions.
I think they can't hear you.
I think I'm loud. Yeah, so please use the Q&A option in the app so we can moderate the questions quickly once Carsten finishes his presentation. Right?
Okay.
Please, Carsten.
No problem. We are free to do what we want. Yeah, I'd like to give you an overview about this second generation kind of strategic collaborations. We see ourselves as an insurance orchestrator in the mobility ecosystem. We have not the picture in our head that we are creating an ecosystem, far away from that. But we believe that we can have a role within the mobility ecosystem, and that's can you hear me? Probably I have strange sounds on my ear. Okay. And that's the way how we organize that. Munich Re is one of the leading reinsurers in the world. Ergo, one of the leading primary insurance companies in Germany, and also with some subsidiaries abroad. And this combination of primary insurance and reinsurance is from the very beginning a very important tool for us, because whenever we go to China, whenever we organize strategic collaborations, reinsurance, interesting-wise, helps us a lot to organize the portfolios of our car makers, our partners from the car side, because you can easily imagine that it's really difficult everywhere around the globe to come up as a primary insurance partner, because legal framework, all that difficult stuff prevents us from being the primary insurance partner sometimes. But reinsurance is always a strategic tool which helps us to, let's say, together with our partner, to influence, to steer a little bit the policy also of the other primary insurance partners, let's say of Volkswagen in another country, of the BMW in China, wherever. Therefore, we have a meaningful position as reinsurers, and we create solutions together with our car partners, which also have very often own carriers. I established years ago a joint insurance carrier between Allianz and Volkswagen, for example. This was a primary insurer. In other examples, we have joint reinsurance carrier or development partnerships or whatever. At the end of the day, we wanted to be seen as a partner along the entire automotive value chain. We have partnerships with BMW, with Volvo, with Great Wall Motor, one of the leading Chinese car makers, with Emil Frey, the leading European dealership organization, with Kazoo, one of the promising startups in the world of online sold cars. We have recently made a collaboration with a leading mobility provider in the world. We have also recently introduced our Mobility Technology Center. I will come back to that a little later. And so on and so on. This is mainly in Germany and in China, because China is the most important car market, not only size-wise, more and more also because of innovation power, because of online interested customers, and because of the electromobility strategy of China itself, for example. And then, of course, we, at the very beginning, had to decide what kind of IT infrastructure do we need to come up with such a portfolio, how to make sure that we are scalable, reliable, how can we come up with international solutions, and therefore we decided to go together with SAP at that time, now SAP Pioneer. And I think this was a very good decision because we came up as a newcomer, Ergo, in that segment, and it was tremendously important to show to our customers, partners from the car side, that our IT world is really stable, is really delivering constantly under complex circumstances. And thanks God, and I will also highlight that a little bit more in the details. But IT is one thing. The other thing is that it's the old way to come as an insurance player to the car industry and asking them for kind of collaborations. And that will not work if you are not really properly prepared. You need to speak the language of the other industry. You need to understand the cultural topics and the differences, And it starts with the way how you collaborate. Because in the past, we were seen as the insurance industry with more or less comparable products, with more or less difficult, complex processes. When it comes to motor insurance, for example, one of the most complicated process landscape. And therefore, we decided with a very, let's say, dedicated, specialized team, we created a board membership fully dedicated to the mobility industry, that we will also change the way how we work in direction of development partnerships, for example. This is a, let's say, common vocabulary in the car industry, but we, from the insurance side, didn't have that, if we are honest. And this means that you need to have dedicated teams, but you also need to have people which have the automotive background, which know how to speak about financial services, the interfaces, the strategic battlefields of the car industry, from sales to after sales, from innovation to scalability. You need to understand that, and therefore you need to have, in particular, expertise in technology, in data management, in IT software, of course, and you need to be international, as well as you need to come up with a product mix covering all the opportunities, because motor insurance is one thing, but only one. And at the very beginning, I would also like to mention that we have a very clear understanding. The car itself is getting smarter and smarter. So we believe that the insurance side also needs to become smarter, needs to become more digital, needs to be, let's say, integrated within the car software. Because when we speak about over-the-air updates, a lot of services, a lot of additional functions you can get via over-the-air, or you can buy functions on demand. We can't remain with our 40-question printed version of insurance questions. That doesn't fit, This time is really over. And here I think you can get a first and rough feeling about what and how we understand our, let's say, our understanding of being an ecosystem orchestrator. We see ourselves between the pillars technology, data, products and services, alternative solutions, infrastructure, business models, and also our portfolio. Because you will easily see the way the car is used in the future from retail customers, also from fleet customers, is totally different. There is not any longer this one and only solution. You buy your car within the dealership and then that's it. That is also over. E-mobility, autonomous driving, particularly connectivity, are key cornerstones here in our automotive world, and this easily describes that the people on the other side, on the insurance side, needs to be properly prepared. And what is the future mobility scenario, which is our starting point? Technology, mobility formats or segments, connectivity and sales, those are the main pillars, and it's crystal clear that for the next 10 years at least, we speak about the electric powertrain, we speak about autonomous driving, level 3 to 4. You have maybe read in the newspapers over the last few weeks that Daimler has got the license for level 3 on the German railway, on the German Autobahn. And there's also a legal framework in Germany for even level 4 driving. So this is a very nice development where the industry and the legislation is in the same direction on the way. And we are facing a situation where the different segments, leasing, rental, sharing, subscription, is growing together. And it's a kind of mixture of those several segments. And as you also may have heard, the battlefield, the future battlefield of the car industry is the software. We all know these attacks from the West Coast to the classical German car industry and also from China. We should not underestimate that. And Volkswagen, for example, has introduced a 10,000 people unit called Carriot, where they try to develop from a traditional car maker to a software company. To what extent and how this works out is another question. But the main battlefield is the software and the battery. 40% of the value of the car comes from the battery, and the future profits are also related with the software. What kind of services can you sell over the air and can you integrate in your dashboard, from infotainment to the technical stuff, of course. Here you can see how the different use cases from leasing, rental, sharing, subscription, how they move together and what is the challenge for each and every pillar. When it comes to leasing, for example, and we speak about a higher and higher portfolio share of e-cars, the dealer organization is not any longer able to carry the residual values on their own balance sheet. This is then normally organized via the financial services organizations. This changed the entire process of how to sell the car, how to invite the customers in your, let's say, dealership or in your showroom, and you also need to come up with an even higher sophisticated service strategy, because after sales will remain the most important profit pool for the dealer organization as well as for the brand itself. And when it comes to rental, we all know this magic sentence, don't be gentle, it's a rental. From an insurance perspective, this has been a disaster so far. So we need to better understand what's going on, what kind of people are driving which car under which circumstances, and what is our technical position to make sure that we come to more and more individual pricing, because our classical insurance tools are not sufficient to cover this situation when it comes to travel. And let me give you one example. I recently spoke to Alexander Sixt last Friday in Munich, and they come up with this classical rental Sixt approach, but more and more also with a subscription model. And they mix that fleet. So we are, let's say, we have a situation where you have a fleet from Sixt, which is on the one hand side classical rental business, on the other hand side subscription model. And the risk characteristics of both models are quite different. Subscription models are something like a short-time leasing, and different people use the other model than people who use the short-term rental. And this gives us a lot of question marks. At the end of the day, it's all about total cost of mobility. Each and every cent counts from the perspective of a highly competitive car industry. And we then can't come up with our traditional one-size-fits-all motor insurance solutions for totally different segments, for totally different providers, and also different customers which are using those cars. So this means we need to learn about data-driven underwriting, and we need to understand that a car which is used only 1 hour per day and 23 hours it's not moved on one place, it's a different risk. And we need to contribute that those cars, let's say, are in the future maybe used for 3, 4, 5 hours, which would mean billions of cost reduction if we can make that, This is the battlefield of the car industries, and reducing costs, particularly the high cost approach of the e-cars today, 40,000, 50, 60,000 euros for a car is not necessarily the best possible solution for a middle-class family. And the leasing rates, it's 80, 90% leasing business. And the leasing rates needs to be optimized also with our insurance module. 30% of the operational costs of the e-car comes from insurance. I'm not speaking about young customers and higher risk and all that stuff. So we need to have those deep dives. We need to understand technology. And this is the reason why we came up a few weeks ago with our so-called Mobility Technology Center. This is a joint venture with a former colleague of mine from Volkswagen, Professor Markus Lienkamp, who is now the leading professor in Munich Technical University for electromobility, for driver assistance systems, and also for autonomous driving. Together with a company called Intec, 1,800 software engineers, we, let's say, fulfill this picture of a development partnership with the car industry, what I have introduced earlier. Because we, from our insurance side, we have some experts, that's fine, yeah, but we would never be able to speak on an eye-to-eye level with the technical unit of BMW or Volvo or whomever. So that's the reason why we have a kind of extended workbench here with those colleagues, to make sure that our technical expertise, how to translate the problems with the battery, for example, into a sustainable insurance solution, is one of the tasks we are facing here. And how can we contribute with smart insurance solutions to make sure that there are more, that we higher the take rate for driver assistance systems also in the middle class and compact class, which is strategically important for the car guys, and what is also attractive to us from an insurance perspective. So we are looking how to find, we are searching for, let's say, joint targets, joint projects to make sure that we translate technology into sustainable insurance solutions. That's the reason why we came up here. And we are really happy to have, from the very beginning, several projects with meaningful car makers along the entire technological value chain. And this is probably the most difficult battle when it comes to data management. You know this battle between two industries where the car guys said, this is our data and we will not give it to no one. And the insurance guy said, yeah, but we would like to have it and then let's see what we can do. And this was now the discussion, has been the discussion over the last 5, 6, 7 years, not really sufficient. And we said, okay guys, we first need to develop ideas. We need to come up to the car industry with the concrete, let's say, fantasy. How can we use data into smart insurance solutions to reduce costs or to improve service or to whatever? So if there's no starting point for having a concrete discussion, it would obviously not work. And that's the reason why we came up with the idea to bring our insurance algorithms closer to the operational system, to the brain of the car. And we have tested that. It's still in an early phase, but we came up, for example, with a racetrack solution, which is by definition, first of all, not rocket science, but we integrated that into the operational system of BMW. So we could bring together our insurance solution, fully digital, into the car or on the smartphone. And this was obviously really, let's say, this convinced the BMW guys, and this gave us the belief that was the real starting point, not to extract all the data, and then all the discussions about legal issues and so on. So we want to bring the insurance algorithm closer to the brain of the car. That's our touch point here. And I think then it will be much easier to introduce microservices in the vehicle domain and to let's say, to directly process data without the time-consuming data transfer and all that stuff. This is a very important, and let's say we have then developed strategic projects around the Mobility Tech Center about the future of motor insurance and also about data management. And we bring this together in order to be able to really convince the technology unit, the financial services unit of the car makers, and the after-sales department, because insurance will remain important for that traditional profit pool as well. Looking for joint profit pools, that's also new, and that's also part of our DNA as an organization to make sure that the car guys see us as a real strategic partner and not, let's say, a product, a product deliverer, similar to a tier 3 screw deliverer or something like that. No? So, that's the starting point of our strategic discussion. And when it comes to IT, that's, of course, we are here with SAP Pioneer. It's also important to give them a very clear understanding what is our IT strategy. How can we be reliable, scalable, and also international? Today it looks like this way, that our backbone is a motor insurance platform from SAP. We have recently, at the very beginning, we started with our mobility strategy. And then we have brought the travel insurance business on the same platform. And we have now discussions to even bring more of the new, let's say, growth and innovative initiatives on the same platform because of scalability and reliability and all that stuff. So I think there's a lot of more fantasy at the interfaces of data management. There is more fantasy when it comes to the front end. And it's still a very early kind of collaboration, but you can see in between 2 years' time or so, we brought from mobility starting point 2 other business initiatives on the same platform. And this is also, I mentioned these cultural issues. The car industry is very competitive, is very fast, is sometimes brutal. And we, on the insurance side, we are highly regulated, we are careful, we are not pushy, we are not as aggressive, and that's one of my top tasks myself, to convince my colleagues within the insurance industry, within our company, that the cultural behavior and the cultural DNA of automotive is totally different. And we need to reflect that. We don't need to, let's say, double that. That's not the point. But we need to understand that, and we need to make sure that they see us as a real contributor. And therefore, we must come up with quicker product development, with a very strong message. What can we do with data? How can we translate it? And do we have the right infrastructure? That's the reason why we also really invested in infrastructure, and we started with the IT. The future picture looks somehow in this way when it comes to data management. No? It's an underwriting piece, risk management, advanced driver assistance system, and we need to learn how to manage this in real time. We need to think about lifestyle analytics. It's much more than the classical telematics approach, which gives some benefit to, let's say, careful drivers. But what do you do with the rest? You know, that can't be the answer, that we stick to, let's say, pure and simple telematics solution. I can't highlight all that stuff at that point, but my message is telematics is not enough. We need to come up with a much deeper integration and translation from data into sustainable insurance solutions. Yeah, and if you would ask me what is the major message, I think a smart car needs smart insurance. And smart insurance is not only the product, it's also the infrastructure, the environment, the team you are working with, and the way how you collaborate with those people. And technology, if it's about sensor technology, if it's about functions on demand, over-the-air updates, you know, this is nothing what should be far away from us or something theoretical. This is our concrete daily life, and this is what we deal with. And my time is over, and I hope you have some, you could get some ideas what we are doing and why we are doing this. We believe that the mobility ecosystem gives us a lot of room for new business, for new segments, for growth and innovation, and also from the cultural perspective, room to develop us from a classical insurer to a mobility provider. Thank you.
So we will take one question. We have a few questions. We'll try to answer them offline. But to Carsten, there is an expected question around sustainability. How are you impacted in this ecosystem by the ESG expectations, as well as a strategy towards sustainability? Do you have a special strategy for Ergo Mobility?
Yeah, absolutely. That was part of my presentation, that we are, let's say, I think now properly prepared to meet those people on an eye-to-eye level. You know, you need to understand what's going on in the financial services arena, leasing, rental, all that stuff. Volkswagen recently acquired Europcar after they have sold it 12 or 13 years ago. So this means the rental business, by the way, is highly profitable at that time. Subscription models are not highly profitable at that time, but you need to learn and you need to understand customer demand and how to match that. Or Volkswagen also came up with the Heycar initiative, an online platform where they have invited Daimler, BMW, Renault, and others in order to, let's say, to improve their position against the mobile.de and other platforms. And they want to sell more and more cars online. They are reorganizing their dealership organization and all that stuff. And this is our strategy, to really know about what's going on there and then to have the creativity to translate that into relevant insurance solutions. May it be motor insurance, may it be warranty solutions for the battery, for example. You know, but you can't come up with a sustainable battery insurance solution if you don't have the ability for, let's say, digital twins approach, or to really understand the maturity level of the battery of A, B, or C providers. You know, that's our strategy.
Thank you, Carsten. Thank you for your time and for
the
very
engaging
presentation.
Don't forget the Rolling Stones.
We will answer the other questions offline.